Why, hello there, my wonderful friends. Welcome back to another episode of r/ProRevenge, where you get to hear stories about people getting what they deserve. Guys, I hope you're having a fantastic Thursday today, because I certainly am, because it's one day before TGIF. Am I right? Guys, in this ProRevenge episode, you're going to hear two stories. The first story, you'll hear how OP deals with a scamming couple at a gas station. And the second story, OP takes down her shady boss and his mistress. Scandalous. Guys, I hope you stay for the stories today and hit that subscribe button, my friends, for future revenge stories. Let's dive in. I don't want to talk too much. This first story is titled, Exploit My Generosity? Hopefully you don't like driving. So one night, I was on my way home from work and needed to stop at a gas station. This gas station was right off a very busy tolled interstate highway and had an attached convenience store, as most do. It was dark out, and when I pulled up, I started pumping my gas and was headed to the store when another customer stopped me. His truck was at the pump across from me. He went on a sob story about how he just got a ticket for not having money to pay the tolls, being completely out of gas, and needing to get home since he accidentally took all of his infant son's formula with him when he left. There was also a woman with him, looking through the diaper bag while he related his tale of woe, and right when he mentions the formula, she yells, "Yeah, all the formula's in here. What were we thinking? We really need to get back." She said her wallet should be in the bag somewhere, but after dumping all the contents inside the truck cabin, she lamented that it wasn't there. So yeah, obviously, they were looking for me to give them money. For some stupid reason, I decide to give them the benefit of the doubt. I go into the store, take out a $20 from the ATM, and give it to them. In retrospect, this was such a textbook example of a standard driver scam, but I guess I was really naive. But then instead of thanking me for the money, the brazen son of a gun responds, "Thanks, but we really need another $20 to make it home. Any way you could go get us more?" He also promised that he would mail the money back to me if I gave him my name, address, and phone number. Yeah, right. At that point, I begin regret giving him anything, as all the red flags are registering in my mind at once. Both of these people were very unhygienic. Greasy hair, very poor teeth, and dirty clothes. The man's pupils were dilated a lot more than would be expected under the bright lights of the gas station, and he was especially twitchy. Likewise, the woman was pacing around, muttering to herself in feigned concern. So yeah, they were probably both high. Also, looking at the contents of the diaper bag sprawled across their truck's interior, there was plenty of trash, but no baby formula. I thought to myself, if I'm going to ruin these people's night, I needed to be sure, so I agreed to get more money. But first, I asked him, you think I could see the citation that you got? My cousin's a state trooper and could probably take care of it for you. I just need some of the information on it. As I jot down his license plate number on my phone, he checks his pockets before saying, "Oh, I have no idea what I did with it. It's okay, I'll just pay it. No big deal." I'm thinking, so you don't have money for gas, but paying more than $100 on a traffic ticket is no big deal. I also noticed the state of his license plate didn't match up with his story. Pissed at myself, I'm making my way back into the store, and the wheels in my head are spinning. I'm thinking, how can I get back at this couple? Have them kicked out? Nah, they'll just go to another gas station and victimize someone else. Call the police. They might not get here in time. I'm a few feet away from the door when genius strikes. I turn and call over to him and say, "If you want, you can take my Easy Pass for the tolls. I don't really need it anymore. It's right on the dashboard. The door should be unlocked." He shouts back, "Oh, that would be great. Thanks." I go into the store and pretend to use the ATM while I'm actually using the app on my phone to cancel my Easy Pass. I report their fraudulent activity to the attendant and hurry back outside. I told the man that I couldn't take any more money out of my account and that I'm sorry. He's disappointed but didn't press me. I'm grinning like a smug idiot on the inside, and I get into my car and notice the transponder is gone and drive off. I pull over a few minutes down the road and call the Easy Pass office. By some stroke of luck, they're open late that day, and I'm able to speak with an actual person. I explained to her that when I got into my car just now, I noticed my transponder was gone. I already cancelled it, but wanted to make sure it was all set. She confirms it's deactivated, and I can come pick up a replacement for a small fee. Not today. She asks, and I tell her where and by whom I suspect the transponder was taken, giving her their license plate number and address of the gas station. She promises to pass the information along to the state police. Perfect. A day or so later, the state police calls me to say that they recovered my transponder and needed me to come in to give a statement. Of course, I obliged. While there, I tried to pry more information on the fate of the con artist, but they weren't very forthcoming at all. Luckily, I told my cousin the story, and she said she'd look into the case for me. According to the report, they got CCTV footage from the gas station showing me giving the man money and then him taking my transponder when I went into the store. Afterwards, the meth heads got back onto the interstate and stopped at the nearest rest stop, where they presumably tried their scheme again before moving on to the next one to repeat the process. Eventually, they got off the toll road and onto a different highway. When they drove through the Easy Pass toll lane, they got flagged for not paying and were pulled over a few miles away. At this point, I was very satisfied, having caused them to get a $100 citation, but that wasn't the end of it. The cop notices something's up with the driver and calls for backup. When they arrive, the officer gave the guy a field sobriety test, to which he failed and was arrested. While this is going on, the woman flipped out and started running. She doesn't make it far before they catch up to her, and whereupon she resists arrest. All in all, the guy was charged with a DUI, not his first time, possession, as they had some meth in the truck, theft by deception for the $20 I gave them, and theft of the transponder. The truck was impounded, and the guy got a large fine for operating without insurance, along with a $100 fine for not paying the toll. The woman was charged with possession and resisting arrest, and she also had a record. All in all, a pretty sweet revenge. They ended up only being tried for the drug-related charges, but I'm still very satisfied with that, along with the fines. It gave my cousin a good laugh, too. So guys, let me tell you the time I was friggin' tricked by this guy outside of a Wendy's. So, I pulled up late at night right after work, and was approached by this guy who told me his truck was impounded, that he was a welder, he has no money to get home, and that him and his dog were starving and haven't eaten for 2 days. I felt so bad for the dog that he pointed to that was tied up. So I brought him inside and let him order whatever he wanted off the menu. For him and his dog. I made sure his dog was gonna get something to eat. So he ended up getting a Baconator combo for himself and a plain baked potato for his dog. And I ended up giving him $20 as well because, I believe in good karma. And I've done my good deed for the day. Well, my friends, a week or so later, I was going to a Walmart with a friend, also in the area late at night, when lo and behold, this freaking guy shows up again. So he comes up to my friend's window, it's like 11 p.m. at night, and he gives us this sob story about him being a plumber this time. He's a plumber, first time was a welder. He was out of work, etc., and he asked for $20 to take a bus to go somewhere. And I said, hey, I recognize you. I bought you a meal at Wendy's last week, and I gave you money, and you said you were a welder. What happened? And you guys should have seen his face. He turned around and walked away without saying anything. So that's when it hit me that he freaking pointed to some random person's dog and pulled at my heartstrings the first time, and I was pretty upset that I got taken advantage of. Honestly, I didn't care if he starved, to be honest, but the little sob story about the dog not eating for a few days really got to me. So yeah, that was my story of the time I got scammed because I wanted a dog to not starve. Guys, let me know in the comments if you've ever been approached by a shady scammer with a sob story. I'd love to know in the comments below, and I'd love to share the comments in my next video. This next story is titled, When Taking Advantage of Young Employees Goes Terribly Wrong. Once upon a time, there was this HVAC company who did small-scale projects for the local municipality. Enter me, an 18-year-old girl fresh out of high school looking for a job. I got hired at this place as an administrative assistant with no experience whatsoever. The person who interviewed me was this horrendous human being named Erica. She did not work for the company, she was just the owner's mistress. This becomes important later. This was to be the start of a very long and painful experience, but one I got my revenge on in the most spectacular way possible. My boss was this very tall, very intimidating West African man named Dave. He was huge, about 6'7". His voice was deep and he was quite an intimidating man. Despite this, he was a very calm and mild-mannered person who rarely ever raised his voice. He did all of his shady things with a smile and a tip of the hat, like a true gentleman. He owned the company and considered himself to be successful, but he was by far the shadiest person I've ever worked for in my life. I didn't realize at the time that many of the things he would have me do were illegal. Very illegal. Now, a very funny and ironic side note here is that both Dave and his disgusting side piece Erica were very, very religious, and will remind you every chance I get religious type of couple. Dave was married and had a wife and 3 kids back in Ghana, but had his little plaything Erica here in the States to keep him entertained. His wife was not aware of Erica's existence, and she did not consent to this arrangement. Now, one would assume that since Erica was the one who interviewed me, that she works at the company, right? Wrong. She had a very good job with the US government and would regularly email me to micromanage me from her government email address regarding my work back at the office. She was located in an entirely different state and would visit every few weeks to bang Dave and call it work. It was during one of these trips that she hired me to work there. Erica was a master at mental torture. She was nasty, rude, and would dial back all of her evil ways when Dave was around, so he believed that she was the perfect angel. She was well into her 50s and would regularly bully me. She would always make snide remarks at me when I needed clarification on something, like, "Do you speak English?" or "Do you not just get it?" Mind you, I was an 18-year-old given the job of an HR director. I was in charge of all office operations: payroll, union benefits, insurance certificates, IRS forms, bank accounts, child support claims, unemployment claims, the works. He had one 18-year-old running his entire business. I'm a naturally very organized, punctual, and technologically savvy person, and they took full advantage of that. These are some of the super illegal and shady things he had me doing. 1. Changing the dates on insurance certificates to make them valid, even though they weren't. 2. Paying union workers off the books. 3. Falsifying payroll documents. 4. Using literally any method to avoid the IRS, such as putting things in his wife's name, etc. 5. Falsifying approval signatures for projects. And 6. Pacify vendors he owed money to, while sweet-talking them to sending us more equipment without paying. There are so many things I can't think of at the moment. He never gave me the context of what was going on when he gave me these random assignments. It was only until later on that I started putting 2 and 2 together to figure out that most of what he was doing was shady. I worked at this place a total of 3 years, and regularly had mental breakdowns in the office because of the sheer amount of work, bullying, and pressure from Erica and Dave. During this time, I hired a lovely young woman named Lily to help me make copies and answer the phone while I basically ran the entire company. She was a student around my age and had great work ethic. Erica would bully her too, so we had great friendships and a mutual burning hatred for this creature that calls herself Erica. She helps me exact my revenge on these cretins later on by giving me documents, information, and whatever I needed, since she was still logged into the company email long after she left. Now, I have stories for days about the various messed up things they did to Dave's various contractors, his employees, and myself included, but this story's already long enough, so I'll tell you about the time that Dave told me to, quote, "Take a vacation, you look stressed." He sent me on a vacation with 2 weeks' pay, and said a lot of pleasantries about how hard I work for him, how he couldn't run the business without me, yada yada. It was all lip service, because when I returned the Monday after my 2-week vacation, I see some guy sitting at my desk using my computer. Of course, I figured it was a mistake, or he was a new engineer using my computer for drawings. Well, tough luck for me, because the next minute, I hear Erica and Dave walking to the office where my desk was located. I had no idea that Erica would be there. They took me into the back of Dave's office and said something along the lines of, "You're fired." To put icing on this cake, Erica made up some convoluted excuse as to why they couldn't give me my money that I was owed from working overtime the week before I left. I stewed for 2 more weeks while I finished up the finals. I kept going over the various scenarios in my head where I was belittled, talked down to, disrespected, and shamed for not being religious, and even taken advantage of. I decided that they would have to pay, and so I started my beautiful waltz of revenge with the IRS. I texted Lily and told her to start looking for a job ASAP because this company was about to go down. I began by filling out all the whistleblower paperwork. Off to the mail that went. My next stop was the Department of Labor. Same routine. I filled out the forms and sent it off with a smile. All aboard the revenge train. The next stop, the labor union. I sent an anonymous letter detailing how he was avoiding paying benefits by hiring union guys under the table. But wait, there's more. I then proceeded to sign up Erica's government email address to every single marketing and spam site I could find. I then contacted the insurance agency, whose certificates he had me alter, and told them not to work with him anymore because of what he was doing. I sat and waited for a few weeks, and slowly, the responses from various agencies trickled in. Many violations were filed against him, and various liens were placed on every single asset he had. He no longer had insurance, so the major contractors would no longer work with him. In less than 6 months, the company went kaput. Fast forward 6 years. I'm sitting in my apartment enjoying some fine wine and some premium weed from California when I get an email on my super old AOL account that I haven't used in years. It's from Erica, but her personal email address, and I see that it's a mass email to everyone in her contact list. It read something like, "Please help. I'm stuck in Italy and have been robbed of everything, including my money and passport. If anyone here could help me, I would really appreciate it. I am stranded here with nothing, and I don't know what to do." Cue my hysterical laughter for probably 10 whole minutes. And yes, I did reply back to her email. My reply was short and simple. It said, "Laugh out loud, is this real?" And that's the story of how you should not take advantage of young employees. And that brings us to another end of r/ProRevenge. If you missed the last episode of r/ProRevenge, a fake friend sells fraudulent software to OP, and he goes bananas. And gets the guy locked up in jail. If you haven't checked out the video, go check it out right now, and I'll see you guys in the next one.